Athletes push their bodies to absolute limits of human body, but this sometimes comes with a terrible price, one that's rarely discussed. Today we examine 5 athletes who achieved legendary status through their dedication, but who ultimately paid the price for their pursuit of physical perfection. Their stories mix incredible achievement with serious warnings about the hidden dangers lurking beneath the substance abuse in the sport. Let's begin with perhaps the most impressive man on our list, Greg Kovacs. When we talk about true mass monsters in bodybuilding, Kovacs was the genuine monster. He stood at an impressive 6 feet 2 inches tall, with an off-season weight that reached almost 420 pounds. Even in competition shape, he carried an incredible 330 pounds of pure, dense muscle that seemed to defy normal human proportions. His physical measurements sound like they're from a comic book superhero rather than a real person. His arms measured between 25 to 27 inches. For perspective, that's thicker than most people's thighs. His massive chest spanned 70 inches across, making it literally wider than a standard refrigerator. His tree trunk-like legs measured 35 inches each. He also reportedly carried a fan with him wherever he went, as he would often sweat heavily due to his enormous size. But Kovacs' legend wasn't just built on his verified measurements, it was also fueled by his own claims of superhuman strength that were never officially documented. He himself stated he could incline press 675 pounds for 6 reps. Similarly, his claim of routinely squatting over 750 pounds for 15 reps remains a self-reported figure. Besides that, Kovacs also publicly claimed he achieved his physique naturally and he is ready to do drug tests anytime. While these claims added to his larger-than-life persona, the verified extremes of his lifestyle were undeniable. The sheer burden of carrying nearly 400 pounds of bodyweight placed incredible, constant stress on his skeletal frame and cardiovascular system. With that size, daily tasks like wiping his ass became hard. What many people don't know about Kovacs is that he was actually studying electrical engineering before bodybuilding completely took over his life. He demonstrated that intelligence and extreme physical development aren't mutually exclusive. His competitive breakthrough came when he won the '96 Canadian National Championships, earning his professional status in the IFBB Pro. Though he never achieved major titles like Mr. Olympia, his sheer presence and unbelievable size made him unforgettable to anyone who saw him on stage. The physical strain of carrying and maintaining that much muscle mass eventually took a devastating toll on his health. He suffered from severe chronic joint pain, breathing difficulties, and sleep apnea so serious that he required a CPAP machine to sleep safely. His cardiovascular system was under constant, tremendous pressure to pump blood through miles of additional vascular tissue feeding his massive muscles. In 2013, at just 44 years old, Greg Kovacs died from heart failure. His body simply couldn't sustain the enormous physiological burden of the mass he had built over decades of extreme training and chemical enhancement. If Greg represented the absolute extreme of sheer mass, then Andreas Münzer represented the polar opposite, the ultimate pursuit of extreme conditioning. The Austrian bodybuilder achieved levels of leanness and muscular definition that many experts thought were physiologically impossible. Standing 5 feet 7 inches tall and weighing around 240 pounds in contest shape, he wasn't the biggest competitor on stage, but he was unquestionably the most defined and detailed bodybuilder of his era. Münzer's contest preparation pushed body fat percentages to levels that bordered on medically dangerous. His body fat was estimated at an astonishing 2.4% during competitions. For context, most healthy male athletes maintain between 10–15% body fat, and levels below 5% are considered potentially hazardous to health. At 2.4%, his physique displayed every single muscle fiber with crystal clarity. You could literally see individual strands within his muscles, and every vein was visible through paper-thin skin that had virtually no water or fat remaining. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger called Mentzer the most defined bodybuilder he had ever seen in his life. To achieve this extraordinary level of dryness and definition, Mentzer used dangerously extreme protocols, particularly in the final weeks before competitions. He used powerful prescription diuretics like Lasix to systematically remove all water from beneath his skin, which enhanced muscular visibility but placed enormous strain on his kidneys. His entire contest preparation was a carefully calculated but medically risky process of deprivation. In March 1996, during his final competition preparation, Mentzer collapsed backstage complaining of excruciating abdominal pain. Rushed to the hospital, doctors discovered his organs were in the process of complete systemic failure. Despite emergency medical intervention, he died on March 14th at just 31 years old, a tragically young age even by the standards of high-risk sports. The autopsy results revealed the shocking physiological cost of his extreme conditioning practices. His heart weighed 636 grams, nearly double the weight of a normal healthy heart, and showed signs of severe hypertrophy from years of pharmaceutical and physiological strain. His liver was filled with tumors and weighed almost twice the normal size, while his kidneys showed extensive scarring and damage. The official cause was listed as dystrophic multiple organ failure. Essentially, his body could no longer sustain the extreme practices he had subjected it to over years of competition preparation. Mike Mentzer approached bodybuilding from a completely different perspective than his opponents. He was both a champion competitor and a philosophical thinker who revolutionized training methodology. While other bodybuilders spent countless hours in the gym following high-volume routines, Mentzer developed and passionately advocated for his heavy-duty training system that emphasized quality over quantity. His training philosophy was simple in concept but revolutionary in application: train with maximum intensity but much shorter duration. He believed that one properly performed set taken to absolute muscular failure was more effective than multiple sub-maximal sets. Then, crucially, allow 4 to 7 days of complete recovery to let muscles fully repair and grow. This radical approach went against everything the bodybuilding establishment believed and practiced at the time. He proved the effectiveness of his methods at the Mr. Universe competition in 1978, where he scored a perfect 300 points, the first bodybuilder in history to achieve a perfect score from all judges. He followed this with a victory in the heavyweight class at the Mr. Olympia in 1979. Standing 5'8" and weighing 225 pounds in contest condition, his physique displayed the perfect proportions and exceptional muscle density that his training philosophy promised. Mentzer was renowned for his intellectual approach to bodybuilding. He authored several influential books about his training methods and provided detailed philosophical advice to thousands of followers through correspondence and seminars. After retiring from active competition, he spent decades coaching others and promoting his training philosophy against considerable resistance from the bodybuilding establishment. What truly made Mentzer special was his analytical mind and willingness to challenge conventional wisdom. He treated bodybuilding as a science rather than merely hard work, engaging in passionate debates about training methodology and encouraging athletes to think critically rather than blindly follow popular trends. His career was marked by both brilliant innovation and frustrating clashes with the bodybuilding orthodoxy. Mike Mentzer died in 2001 at age 49. While the exact medical circumstances aren't widely documented in public sources, his years in the sport during its most chemically intensive era undoubtedly contributed to his premature passing. His legacy continues through the many athletes and coaches who still employ and teach his training principles, and through the ongoing debate about training intensity versus volume that he helped initiate. Rich Piana represented the new era of bodybuilding fame in the digital age. He achieved recognition not just through traditional competition, but by building a massive online empire through YouTube and social media. Standing 6 feet tall, his weight climbed to 330 pounds during mass-building phases throughout his bodybuilding journey. Piana's introduction to bodybuilding began exceptionally early. He started training at age 11 under the influence of his mother, who was herself a competitive bodybuilder. He achieved traditional competitive success by winning the NPC Mr. California title in 1998 at age 27, but his real fame and influence came later through his shocking, unprecedented honesty about the sport's dark side online. What made Piana radically different from other bodybuilders was his transparent approach to topics that other bodybuilders carefully avoided. While most professionals denied or deflected questions about performance-enhancing drugs, Piana openly discussed and documented his steroid use from his first cycle at age 18 to his sophisticated use of insulin, growth hormone, and sight-enhancing oils later in his career. He built an enormous online following with over 1 million YouTube subscribers through his raw, unfiltered content. His catchphrase, "whatever it takes," became famous in fitness circles, represented his extreme approach to physical transformation. He founded and grew a successful supplement company called 5% Nutrition, the name referring to his belief that only 5% of people are truly willing to do anything necessary to achieve their goals. Despite his open use of dangerous substances, Piana was surprisingly honest about the risks involved. He frequently stated that he understood the potential consequences but had consciously chosen to accept them. He famously claimed he would rather live 20 years as a mass monster than 80 years as an average person, explicitly acknowledging the trade-off he was making. On the 7th of August 2017, Rich Piana collapsed suddenly at his home while his girlfriend was giving him a haircut. He fell unconscious and stopped breathing, prompting her to call emergency services and perform CPR until paramedics arrived. When they reached the scene, Piana was still unresponsive and was rushed to the hospital, where doctors placed him in a medically induced coma. Despite intensive care, he never regained consciousness and passed away 2 weeks later, on August 25, at the age of 46. The medical examiner's report documented a severely enlarged heart, a classic sign of long-term steroid use, along with significant liver damage. While the official cause was listed as complications from heart disease, the connection to his decades of pharmaceutical enhancement was unmistakable and widely acknowledged within the fitness community. On the other hand, Shawn Rhoden's story captures both the ultimate triumph and devastating tragedy of professional bodybuilding. Born in Kingston, Jamaica in 1975, Rhoden didn't discover weight training until his late teens after moving to the United States. His journey to the top was anything but smooth. He nearly left the sport entirely after his father's death led him into a period of depression and alcoholism. Taking 7 years away from competition, few would have predicted he'd ever return, let alone reach the sport's absolute pinnacle. Yet return he did, with a vengeance that would define his career. Rhoden earned his IFBB Pro card in 2009 and quickly became known for his classic, aesthetic physique in an era dominated by mass monsters. His perfectly balanced proportions and exceptional conditioning earned him the nickname the Flexatron among fans and fellow competitors. For years, he steadily climbed the Olympia rankings, placing third in 2012, 2014, and 2015, then second in 2016. The bodybuilding world watched, wondering if he could ever dethrone the massive dominant Phil Heath. In 2018, at 43 years old, Rhoden achieved the impossible, making history as the oldest first-time Mr. Olympia winner by defeating the 7-time champion Phil Heath. His victory was celebrated as a triumph of aesthetics and perseverance over pure mass. Yet his reign was tragically short-lived. Sexual assault allegations emerged shortly after his win, leading to his suspension from competition. But the real damage ran deeper than any career setback. The decades of pharmaceutical enhancement required to compete at bodybuilding's highest level had already taken their toll on his body. The anabolic steroids that built his championship physique had systematically damaged his cardiovascular system, causing his heart muscle to thicken abnormally, a condition known as left ventricular hypertrophy that makes the heart less efficient at pumping blood. Combined with the immense metabolic strain of carrying over 240 pounds of contest-ready muscle mass, Rhoden's body was under constant, unsustainable pressure. Just 3 years after his historic victory in November 2021, Shawn Rhoden died from a heart attack at just 46 years old.